Where is home? Where do you come from? Are two questions that many people are often asked. So how do you answer? Do you answer with your passport country, the place you were born, or is it where your parents are from? For many people, this would probably be a simple and an easy question to answer. However, being a third culture kid, I've always found it difficult. Yet, such a simple question plays a massive part into shaping us into who we are as individuals. So, what exactly does it mean to be a third culture kid? Those of us who identify as a third culture kid do so because we've grown up in a culture different to that of our parents. Usually a third culture kid's environment is constantly changing as we move countries and expat families around us continue to move. We are consistently forced to adapt to new cultures, both in terms of where we find ourselves and with the people we meet. When we construct an idea of what a home looks like, we often rely on a place, traditions, and people to construct that image. And when the world around you is constantly changing, it can become really difficult to maintain that single image of what a home is. I come from a long line of expats and third culture kids, with my great-grandmother being born in India, my grandmother being born in Egypt, and my mum growing up in Penang, Borneo, Jamaica, Nigeria, St. Lucia, Zambia, Italy, and South Africa. As for me, I was born in Hong Kong. I've lived in Macau, Australia, Malaysia, and now currently England. Growing up overseas has definitely been an amazing experience, and I wouldn't change it for anything. However, there are many obstacles a third culture kid has to overcome before we can begin to carve out a space for ourselves in our environment. These obstacles include culture shocks and identity crises, amongst other things. I remember my first identity crisis and culture shock. It was when I was 7 years old. I just moved from Macau to Australia, and even though I looked like the people around me, I felt and sounded different. I was posed with the dreaded question of, where do you come from? With my answer being China, as I'd spent most of my early childhood there. I quickly found out that most people wouldn't and couldn't accept this idea, as I don't look ethnically Chinese. I remember running home crying to my mom. Throughout my whole life, I'd built up this narrative, this reality that I was from China, because I had this image of what my life looked like while I was there. An image shaped by the culture, the people around me, and a familiarity of the place. And to be told that it wasn't true and couldn't be true was extremely disorientating, as I didn't have elsewhere. My mum tried her best to explain about how not everyone has an understanding of what it meant to experience life as a third culture kid. And looking back at it now from an outside perspective, the idea and the lifestyle of a third culture kid is an extremely difficult concept to comprehend, particularly when you already have a clearly established an idea of home. A quote that's always stuck out to me is, "So here you are, too foreign for home, too foreign for here, and never enough for both." This quote struck a chord with me, and it resonates for many other third culture kids. As we try to adapt and to fit into different countries and new environments, we are treated as a foreigner no matter where we go. And it's a massive part of our lifestyle and a hurdle that we have to overcome. Culture shocks can be situations as simple as finding out that not everyone takes off their shoes before entering a house, or in my case, that having rice with a roast dinner is not well known or a common thing. Most people have experienced culture shocks when they go travelling, and they make friends with new people from different backgrounds. However, as a third culture kid, we can also experience a reverse culture shock, which is when we go back to our passport country, a country we should be, at least theoretically speaking, be familiar with. When I first moved to England, I found it strange having a cold Christmas, and my friends spoke about TV shows and food they'd eaten, which I didn't recognise at all. Even though I am British, I didn't feel like I'd fit in at all. It took me about a year to acclimatise and adapt to living life in England before it really began to feel like home. The theme of bridging the gap made me start thinking about how life as a third culture kid forces you to become adaptable, which means we're able to cross cultures and countries with ease. Third culture kids share many characteristics such as open-mindedness, bilingualism, rootlessness, adaptability, and a willingness to experience new things, for example, food. Third culture kids usually develop a new identity that replicates their experiences of each of their cultures they've grown up alongside. Due to the characteristic of adaptability, many third culture kids describe themselves as a chameleon. And this is due to us being able to quickly assess our surroundings and take on characteristics in order to fit in. As Mark Twain once said, travel is fatal to prejudice, bigotry, and narrow-mindedness. As a result of growing up in between worlds, we can bridge the gap between cultures and learn to appreciate differences. As a third culture kid, I feel like I can connect to almost any background. Many third culture kids, including myself, have come to understand that home is not an exact location, but instead the idea of home is shaped by the people you surround yourself with and with the identity that you create for yourself. For many third culture kids, with a quickly changing childhood, family may be the one consistency that they've ever had. Therefore, family becoming their home. Home is often presented as being a physical place, but I think that even for non-third culture kids, this thought doesn't cover what a home means. Home has an emotional attachment, the feeling of belonging where memories are created. When the world around you and the people around you are in a constant state of change, you learn to tie yourself to the things that hold meaning. A favourite song, a special meal, or the feeling of nostalgia when something reminds you of somewhere you once lived. The idea of home can't be geographically located. It's a feeling, and I'm so happy to be able to call many places home. Thank you.